So one of the biggest questions that I get asked from contractors is how much should I be spending every single month on advertising? And so in this video, I'm going to give you an actual breakdown of what you should be spending so that you can make the right marketing decisions and actually scale the business. My name is Stephen Donaghy. I run a marketing agency. I've worked with contractors for the last 5 years, getting them results in their marketing. Most of my clients right now have a 5 to 10x return on ad spend. That means every single dollar that they spend, they're making $5 to $10 in return. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that right now. So when you're running ads for your business, it is very important to pick the right budget, because if you have the wrong budget, you're either going to spend a very, very long time trying to get results, or you're just going to be throwing money at the wall to see if it sticks. A lot of people recommend that you spend 10% of your total revenue on advertising. And I'm here to tell you right now that that is not necessarily true. You should be spending at least 10%. I would argue you should be spending at least 10%, but depending on your market, depending on what your competitors are doing, depending on what kind of jobs you're trying to close, you probably will need to spend more. In one market, say, for example, your client or your competitors are not even running any ads, right? You're going to have a much easier time dominating that market, and you're probably going to have to spend a lot less. Right. Also, this depends on, labor costs and materials and stuff like that too, the actual job cost, right? In one market, it might cost, 20 grand to do the same job that in another market would cost 30 grand, right? So depending on that, depends on the level or quality of client that you need to get, right? So you have to have an understanding of your market before you actually start advertising, because if you don't, then basically you're just throwing money at the wall and seeing if it sticks. So it's very, very important that you get an understanding of what your direct competitors are doing and what the best platforms are for you to actually advertise on. The next thing you need to understand is that when you're running ads, you have to understand the context of what you were doing. Okay, I think I see a lot of guys just trying to get like a quick fix, because it's, I can get a couple jobs this month, and then all of a sudden my life has changed, right? We have to look at the context behind what you're actually doing before you just go out there and start throwing money at it. Another thing that I see too is this idea that, oh, wow, like $1,500, $2,000 for a customer, that's a lot of money. Well, let's talk about what kind of jobs you're closing. If you're closing a $40,000 job and you're spending $1,500, then you are making $38,500 off of one lead, right? Now, if you bake your customer acquisition costs into your service, then all of a sudden you charge them $41,500. Now you're making 40 grand, right? And after labor and all that, you have higher profit than you did previously. So it's very important that you bake your customer acquisition cost into your you bake your customer acquisition costs into your job price, because if you're a premium service, people are going to be willing to pay it. Context matters. So depending on what market you're in or what you're making off of every single job, you need to understand that correlation to your customer acquisition cost is what is going to scale the business, right? If you're scared to spend, then you're never going to get there, right? If you're spending $1,500 in acquiring a customer, that might sound like a lot of money to you, but I will tell you, I acquire customers for $3,000. All right. And to be honest, I don't want to acquire customers for less. And the reason why is because I don't want to hire somebody who I don't think is going to actually do a good job in this business. I'm not going to hire someone that I know I can't help. When I was acquiring customers at $1,000 and $500, a lot of the time these guys were very cheap, they were very broke, and they weren't willing to spend the money that was required to get them results. And so I know for myself personally that I need to acquire customers for $3,000 bare minimum, or I'm just going to be in a shitty loop with a customer, right? Same thing might apply for you. If you're acquiring customers for $500, wow, that sounds super awesome, doesn't it? Only $500. I'm telling you, the client, the quality of that lead is not going to be as good. All right. It's just not going to be as good. You'll probably have a smaller project. They'll probably bitch at you the entire time, right? This is what happens when you acquire people for low customer acquisition costs. This is why buying cheap leads is a bad idea, right? Cheap leads are, it sounds nice, right? You spend $15 on a lead or $50 on a lead. Maybe you work with Angie's or Home Advisor or a company like that, and they're selling you leads for $80 a pop. It sounds nice, right? But the truth is, you're not getting enough data to determine whether this lead is quality or not, right? I don't care if my lead is $400. If I'm acquiring leads for $400, but I know that person's going to pick up the phone and book an appointment every single time, I don't care what my cost per lead is. Like a lot of these metrics that like agencies will push are a bunch of bullshit. Like none of it really matters that much. The only thing that actually matters is your cost to acquire a customer, and then the lifetime value of that customer. So your LTV to CAC ratio. Basically, it's how much you are making off of a client in the lifetime of having that client towards versus the customer acquisition costs, right? If you acquire a client and that client spends $40,000 on a bathroom, and then they spend another, I don't know, $10,000 on like a half bathroom, right? You just made 50 grand. Say they want to get their kitchen done too. Let's just say over the course of you knowing this client, over the course of a couple of years, they spent $150,000 with your business and you acquired that person for $1,500. Your LTV to CAC ratio is 100x on that one person. Okay. This is why it's important to treat your customers well and then follow up with those customers and keep them in your pipeline so you can continue to close them for more stuff, right? Those are the metrics that matter. But once again, it's context, right? A lot of people will scream. I know I talked about return on ad spend at the beginning, and I kind of said it because I knew it would keep you around. But a lot of people scream return on ad spend. They're like, "Oh my god, my return on ad spend is $15 to 1." Cool. Who cares? I honestly, I don't care. Like in my head, if you acquire a customer for a 3x or a 2x, you still made money, and then you sell that customer more stuff, right? Obviously, it depends on your business model. Like if you're a roofer and that's all you do, like you're probably not going to sell them more stuff. But guess what? If you get that person to refer you 5 other people, now you've increased your lifetime value. That counts into lifetime value as well. If they go find you 5 other people, guess what? You just made a lot of money for that one customer you acquired. So I think it's very, very important that you pay attention to the context of what you are actually doing, right? There are brands that are spending $100,000, $200,000 a year on marketing, and they're making $3, $4, $5 million a year. And that's happening because they're willing to put the risk in and willing to put the money into ad spend. Now, I will tell you from my experience, I've seen that spending less than $100 a day is not worth it. To have like at least a decent run, especially obviously depends on what industry you're in. So it really can change. Like I've had some guys come to me and spend $50 a day and make a fortune off of that $50 a day. I've also had some people come to me today or come to me and pay $50 a day, and it has not been worth it. So if you're in a higher ticket industry, I would recommend bare minimum, you need to be spending $100 a day. Your ultimate goal is to get up to $500 a day. All right. You want to get to $500 a day as soon as possible, because once you get to $500 a day, it's less of how do we get data to how can we improve the business? Because when you're running ads, you're getting traffic, and traffic, when you flood your business with traffic, you find the problems inside your business. It reframes the way you operate as an entrepreneur, right? If you have tons of customers coming in the door every single day, you start to rethink the way you're operating your business. Okay, that one employee that you've been needing to fire, you're going to fire that employee. All right, that new truck you need to get, you're going to go get that new truck. That salesman who's not closing, you're going to figure out what you need to do in order to get that salesman to close. This is why it's important to run ads, get some clients, and then immediately put all the money back into the advertising as soon as possible. Now, realistically, I would say as a contractor making under $500,000 a year, I would recommend you go like Angie's Home Advisor, Yelp, you go that route and kind of work with a company like that. If you don't have a big advertising spend, you probably won't have a big advertising spend. If you're making over $1 million or even over $500,000, you should be running ads. You really should. You need to invest in your own branding. The problem that Home Advisors or Angie's has is that you're basically going and working with a company that's then going to sell the same lead to like 5 other people, right? And so you're in a bidding war. And if you're young and hungry, or you're under that $500,000 mark, you should be hungry, right? You're going to go out of your way and work extra hard to close those jobs. But if that's not the case, like, and you don't even want to do that, like, this is why you need to focus on your own marketing, in-house marketing, the marketing for your business, right? And then put as much money as possible behind it so that you can ensure you are getting good results. And then lastly, you do not want to get cheap leads. You really don't. I said this before. People need to jump through hoops in order to work with you. You need to have people jump through multiple hoops to work with you. Because if you're just taking anyone and everyone off the block, you're not getting the quality prospects that you need. You're getting a bunch of BS. And so what happens is you end up going around taking a bunch of estimates, taking a bunch of jobs. You feel busy, but the thing is, you're getting these crappy jobs. You're showing up to these job sites where, I got to talk to my wife about it, and I got to go. I got 3 other people coming this week. We'll talk about it at the end of the week. I'll see if I want to work with you. And you feel busy, right? You're driving around doing all these inspections and all this stuff, and then you realize it's just a waste of time. Right? So don't be that guy. Don't buy cheap leads. You want to buy premium leads at a premium price, right? You want to be paying $100, $150 a lead, because if you're paying that much for a lead, there's a good chance that you are getting the highest quality leads that you can get. And so if you're trying to run ads for your business, you don't know where to get started, you don't know what to spend on your marketing budget, I got you covered. Click the link in the description, book a time with me, and we can have a discussion about how to reach your marketing goals this year. And if you're not ready to jump on a call with me, that's completely okay. You can check out the rest of my channel where I go over other marketing methods that you can use to improve your business today. And I will see you in the next video.